Welcome to Learn with Safi. Java multithreading interview questions and answers. What is multithreading? Multithreading is a process executing multiple threads simultaneously. Multithreading is used to obtain the multitasking. It consumes less memory and gives the fast and efficient performance. Its main advantages are: threads share the same address space. The thread is lightweight. The cost of communication between the processes is low. What is the thread? A thread is a lightweight subprocess. It is a separate path of execution because each thread runs in a different stack frame. A process may contain multiple threads. Threads share the process resources but still they execute independently. Differentiate between process and thread. There are the following differences between the process and thread. A program in the execution is called the process, whereas a thread is a subset of the process. Processes are independent, whereas threads are the subset of process. Processes have different address space in memory, while threads contain a shared address space. Context switching can be faster between the threads as compared to context switching between the threads. Inter-process communication is slower and expensive than inter-thread communication. Any change in parent process doesn't affect the child process, whereas changes in parent thread can affect the child thread. What do you understand by inter-thread communication? The process of communication between synchronized threads is termed as inter-thread communication. Inter-thread communication is used to avoid thread polling in Java. The thread is paused running in its critical section, and another thread is allowed to enter, or lock, in the same critical section to be executed. It can be obtained by wait notify and notify all methods. What is the purpose of wait method in Java? The wait method is provided by the object class in Java. This method is used for inter-thread communication in Java. The java.lang.object.wait method is used to pause the current thread, and wait until another thread does not call the notify or notify all method. Consider the following syntax. Public final void wait method. Why must wait method be called from the synchronized block? We must call the wait method, otherwise it will throw java.lang.illegal monitor state exception. Moreover, we need wait method for inter-thread communication with notify and notify all methods. Therefore it must be present in the synchronized block for the proper and correct communication. What are the advantages of multithreading? Multithreading programming has the following advantages. Multithreading allows an application program to be always reactive for input, even already running with some background tasks. Multithreading allows the faster execution of tasks, as threads execute independently. Multithreading provides better utilization of cache memory as threads share the common memory resources. Multithreading reduces the number of the required server as one server can execute multiple threads at a time. What are the states in the lifecycle of a thread? A thread can have one of the following states during its lifetime. New. In this state, a thread class object is created using a new operator, but the thread is not alive. Thread doesn't start until we call the start method. Runnable. In this state, the thread is ready to run after calling the start method. However, the thread is not yet selected by the thread scheduler. Running. In this state, the thread scheduler picks the thread from the ready state, and the thread is running. Waiting or blocked. In this state, a thread is not running but still alive, or it is waiting for the other thread to finish. Dead or terminated, a thread is in terminated or dead state when the run method exits. What is the difference between preemptive scheduling and time slicing? Under preemptive scheduling, the highest priority task executes until it enters the waiting or dead states or a higher priority task comes into existence. Under time slicing, a task executes for a predefined slice of time and then re-enters the pool of ready tasks. The scheduler then determines which task should execute next, based on priority and other factors. What is context switching? In context switching, the state of the process, or thread, is stored so that it can be restored and execution can be resumed from the same point later. Context switching enables the multiple processes to share the same CPU. Differentiate between the thread class and runnable interface for creating a thread. A thread can be created by using two ways. By extending the thread class. By implementing the thread class. However, the primary differences between both the ways are given below. By extending the thread class, we cannot extend any other class, as Java does not allow multiple inheritances while implementing the runnable interface. We can also extend other base class, if required. By extending the thread class, each of thread creates the unique object and associates with it while implementing the runnable interface. Multiple threads share the same object. Thread class provides various inbuilt methods such as getPriority, isAlive and many more, while the runnable interface provides a single method, that is, run. What does join method? The join method waits for a thread to die. In other words, it causes the currently running threads to stop executing until the thread it joins with completes its task. Join method is overloaded in thread class in the following ways. Public void join method throws interrupted exception. Public void join throws interrupted exception. Declare the milliseconds variable using long data type in the join method. Describe the purpose and working of sleep method. The sleep method in Java is used to block a thread for a particular time, which means it pauses the execution of a thread for a specific time. There are two methods of doing so. Consider the following syntax. Working of sleep method. When we call the sleep method, it pauses the execution of the current thread for the given time and gives priority to another thread, if available. Moreover, when the waiting time completed, then again previous thread changes its state from waiting to runnable and comes in running state. And the whole process works so until the execution doesn't complete. What is the difference between wait and sleep method? The main differences between wait and sleep method is given below. The wait method is defined in object class when the sleep method is defined in thread class. The wait method releases the lock. But the sleep method doesn't release the lock. Is it possible to start a thread twice? No, we cannot restart the thread, as once a thread started and executed, it goes to the dead state. Therefore, if we try to start a thread twice, it will give a runtime exception java.lang.illegal thread state exception. Can we call the run method instead of start method? Yes, calling run method directly is valid, but it will not work as a thread. Instead it will work as a normal object. There will not be context switching between the threads. When we call the start method, it internally calls the run method, which creates a new stack for a thread, while directly calling the run will not create a new stack. What about the daemon threads? The daemon threads are the low-priority threads that provide the background support and services to the user threads. daemon thread gets automatically terminated by the JVM if the program remains with the daemon thread only, and all other user threads are ended or died. There are two methods for daemon thread available in the thread class. Public void set daemon, Boolean status, it used to mark the thread daemon thread or a user thread. Public Boolean is daemon, it checks the thread is daemon or not. Can we make the user thread as daemon thread if the thread is started? No, if you do so, it will throw a legal thread state exception. Therefore, we can only create a daemon thread before starting the thread. What is shutdown hook? The shutdown hook is a thread that is invoked implicitly before JVM shuts down. So we can use it to perform clean up the resource or save the state when JVM shuts down normally or abruptly. Some important points about shutdown hooks are: shutdown hooks initialized but can only be started when JVM shutdown occurred. Shutdown hooks are more reliable than the finalizer method because there are very few chances that shutdown hooks not run. The shutdown hook can be stopped by calling the halt int method of runtime class. When should we interrupt a thread? We should interrupt a thread when we want to break out the sleep or wait state of a thread. We can interrupt a thread by calling the interrupt method throwing the interrupted exception. What is the synchronization? Synchronization is the capability to control the access of multiple threads to any shared resource. It is used to prevent thread interference, to prevent consistency problem. When the multiple threads try to do the same task, there is a possibility of an erroneous result, hence to remove this issue, Java uses the process of synchronization which allows only one thread to be executed at a time. It can be achieved in three ways. By the synchronized method, by synchronized block, by static synchronization. Syntax for synchronized block. What is the purpose of the synchronized block? The synchronized block can be used to perform synchronization on any specific resource of the method. Only one thread at a time can execute on a particular resource, and all other threads which attempt to enter the synchronized block are blocked. Synchronized block is used to lock an object for any shared resource. The scope of the synchronized block is limited to the block on which it is applied. Its scope is smaller than a method. Can Java object be locked down for exclusive use by a given thread? Yes. You can lock an object by putting it in a synchronized block. The locked object is inaccessible to any thread other than the one that explicitly claimed it. What is static synchronization? If you make any static method as synchronized, the lock will be on the class, not on the object. If we use the synchronized keyword before a method, so it will lock the object, one thread can access an object at a time, but if we use static synchronized, so it will lock a class, one thread can access a class at a time. What is the difference between notify and notify all methods? The notify method is used to unblock one waiting thread, whereas notify all method is used to unblock all the threads in waiting state. What is the deadlock? Deadlock is a situation in which every thread is waiting for a resource which is held by some other waiting thread. In this situation, neither of the thread executes nor it gets the chance to be executed. Instead, there exists a universal waiting state among all the threads. Deadlock is a very complicated situation which can break our code at runtime. How to detect a deadlock condition? How can it be avoided? We can detect the deadlock condition by running the code on CMD and collecting the thread dump. And if any deadlock is present in the code, then a message will appear on CMD. Ways to avoid the deadlock condition in Java. Avoid nested lock. Nested lock is the common reason for deadlock, as deadlock occurs when we provide locks to various threads. So we should give one lock to only one thread at some particular time. Avoid unnecessary locks. We must avoid the locks which are not required. Using thread join. Thread join helps to wait for a thread until another thread doesn't finish its execution. So we can avoid deadlock by maximum use of join method. What is thread scheduler in Java? In Java, when we create the threads, they are supervised with the help of a thread scheduler, which is the part of JVM. Thread scheduler is only responsible for deciding which thread should be executed. Thread scheduler uses two mechanisms for scheduling the threads: preemptive and time slicing. Java Thread Scheduler also works for deciding the following for a thread. It selects the priority of the thread. It determines the waiting time for a thread. It checks the nature of thread. Does each thread have its stack in multi-threaded programming? Yes, in multi-threaded programming every thread maintains its own or separate stack area in memory, due to which every thread is independent of each other. How is the safety of a thread achieved? If a method or class object can be used by multiple threads at a time without any race condition, then the class is thread safe. Thread safety is used to make a program safe to use in multi-threaded programming. It can be achieved by the following ways: synchronization, using volatile keyword, using a lock-based mechanism, use of atomic wrapper classes. What is race condition? A race condition is a problem which occurs in the multi-threaded programming. When various threads execute simultaneously accessing a shared resource at the same time, the proper use of synchronization can avoid the race condition. What is the volatile keyword in Java? Volatile keyword is used in multi-threaded programming to achieve the thread safety, as a change in one volatile variable is visible to all other threads. So one variable can be used by one thread at a time. What do you understand by thread pool? Java thread pool represents a group of worker threads which are waiting for the task to be allocated. Threads in the thread pool are supervised by the service provider, which pulls one thread from the pool and assign a job to it. After completion of the given task, thread again came to the thread pool. The size of the thread pool depends on the total number of threads kept at reserve for execution. The advantages of the thread pool are: using a thread pool, performance can be enhanced. Using a thread pool, better system stability can occur. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and hit the bell.